Hi, this is Stephen Katz, Chief Pilot with Flying Lion and Skyladder Drones, and I am honoring National Drone Safety Awareness Week with a short video about safety and when you need an FAA airspace authorization. This comes up often, obviously, in our Part 107 classes that we teach at two community colleges, but recently it's come up from even Part 107 pilots posting on Facebook forums and asking questions otherwise. I hope this webinar helps to explain this for not just Part 107 pilots, but also for their clients. So if you have a client that doesn't understand why you need to get an airspace authorization, hopefully you can show them this video and explain it. So let's get into it. Speaking to Part 107 pilots, everything starts with the national airspace. And the whole idea is, can you fly legally in the national airspace? This is the national airspace that I get to work in. I'm here in Southern California, and this is Los Angeles. And almost every one of these lines represents airspace. I'm going to specifically be talking about a recent job that I've done at Ontario International Airport. It's actually scheduled for this week. And if you look at that, it's a Class C or Class Charlie airport. And as you can see, a lot of very busy space. But from this, you could tell that from surface to 5,000 feet, there's Class C airspace, so you cannot fly. The nice thing is the FAA has added um, the LAANC system that allows authorizations up to a certain grid level as you get farther away from an airport. As you get closer to the airport, it's a no-fly zone or a zero grid, but as you get farther away, you can fly. And so here's an example. This is you go to FAA UAS facility maps, and this shows the Southern California area the same way, but from a drone standpoint. Anything green is active and active in LAANCs. And anything that is red is either a military base, like this military base, which is March Air Force Base, or a contract tower, and they haven't had the ability to implement LAANCs. So zooming in on the Ontario airport, what we thought was this big area that said you couldn't fly in, the LAANC system actually breaks it down, and the airport has broken it down much more finitely, and in a place where you get automatic authorizations if you're in a grid that you can fly at or below. So for example, we're going to be talking about this grid here at 200 feet, or the grid next to it. This says the ceiling is 200 feet and it's on LAANCs. So basically, you can get instant approval to fly in this space from LAANCs. Great news, right? So if you only have to fly 50 or 100, 200 feet, it's automatic approval. We have a project that sits right at the edge of Philadelphia Street, and that project is within 200 feet, which is terrific, but to capture the north side of the building and the north facing side of the building, we would have to fly in a zero grid, meaning we would have to get additional approval to fly in that grid. Now, before we jump into how we get that authorization, would we be able to take off here if we looked at DJI? So looking at the DJI airspace, as you can see, DJI limits things very close to the airport, and I call it bow ties. So they have a bow tie out from the runway either direction because that's where airplanes are typically flying. The airport knows where the airplane pattern is and things like that, and that's why they might have 100 feet on one side of the airport or 50 feet on the other, or no fly on another side. Zooming in, here's that Philadelphia street and here's that park. If we click right here, this is an authorization zone for DJI, meaning that authorization zones may be unlocked by authorized users using a DJI verified account. Basically, all you have to do is go to that site, activate your drone, it will ask you for your mobile phone number, and you'll be able to fly in all this area. But as we saw from the FAA, this whole area is a zero grid. Yet DJI has it as an authorization zone, meaning you can legally not fly, but DJI will let you fly. And that's the challenge. So the challenge here is the confusion around DJI or other drone manufacturers that might have a geofence limiting or not limiting certain areas, while the FAA clearly has these areas as zero grids. The way you go about doing that is real simple. Think about it in two separate pieces. One is the 200-foot grid. This gives you instantaneous LAANC approval, which we did. I used Skyward to do that. And you'll see we asked for 200 feet request and a 200-foot grid, and that was approved. And that was approved instantaneously. So anything, again, this is Philadelphia Street, kind of just happens to be the random border here. We asked for area on this side, right? And zooming in, we asked for space here, and this is going to allow us to fly for the project later this week. But that's only half of it. We also want to be able to fly on this side of Philadelphia, which again is within a zero grid, as we talked about. We submitted a separate Skyward or LAANC request. It was the grid ceiling is 0. We asked for 200 feet request, and it was approved today. And we added some explanation here. One reason I like Skyward is that it allows you to add a little explanation. Hope that the FAA decides, the local FAA and air traffic controller can look at and understand what we're looking for. We're requesting 200 foot grid, 1.1 nautical miles north of the current boundary. It's adjacent to a 200 foot grid, and that the pilot would monitor all aircrafts via portable aviation radio at what frequency. And if requested, they can let us know that they want us to notify the tower, which we have not heard, but we definitely can do so. So, very simply, DJI will let me fly this area, right? DJI lets me fly in this area. The FAA clearly has the regulations that says you can only fly up to a certain height. And then using the LAANC system, I was able to get authorization for the 200-foot grid without any issue. And as you can see, we have a freeway in between. So we may even travel to the other side of the freeway to capture a long view here. That's why we asked for a longer distance. And the nice thing about this 200-foot grid is that you can ask for that authorization the day of and not need to get pre-approval for it. And you can actually get that same day authorization and fly instantaneously. And then we asked for the special additional zero grid authorization. As you can see, it's in the zero grid portion of it, a little sliver of it, and got that authorization this morning. Hopefully that makes some sense. Please, always, when you're working on jobs as a Part 107 pilot, not just looking at the sectional map, but looking at both the DJI map, because DJI may lock you out even though you're able to fly, just like here where you're legally not able to fly and need to go get special authorization. One additional thing is, if you for example got approval here in this corner at the airport, which we aren't, but if you would not be able to. This is a restricted zone, and you would have to get special authorization. You can do a special unlock request to DJI, which is here on the DJI FlySafe area, unlocking requests, and you can unlock a zone for those types of things. What you would do is provide your FAA approval here on that website, and once you have this FAA approval, forward that on to DJI, and from there they'll clear the airspace and give you approval. And they've been terrific. They usually do it within 15 minutes and almost always within a half hour. So plan ahead a little bit, fly safe, and we hope you have a terrific Drone Safety Awareness Week with the FAA. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.